This class is on the topic of segmentation. Now you'll see from the bottom right hand side of the screen that there are 118 slides, so it's quite a long class, and I strongly recommend that you look at it for a while, turn it off, think about it, take some more. So view it perhaps 3 or 4 times, one after the other, but have a break in between and then go back and look at it again and make notes from it. It's important that on all the classes and all the videos that you make your own notes and you have a clear understanding of the issues that are discussed. So it's quite a long class. Don't worry about that. Just turn it off when you are feeling a bit tired. Leave it, come back to it later, but make sure you see it and you check it out. So let's start. We want to look at the importance of segmentation. So as a part of the sales activity, segmentation is an important aspect that needs to be taken into account. When selling products and services to a particular target group, this is referred to as market segmentation. So when we sell to a particular targeted group, that's known as segmentation. Customers are grouped into similar characteristics and preferences. Similar characteristics, it could be to people over the age of 60, it could be to people under the age of 20, it could be to people who live in cities or people live in the countryside. Segmentation can be almost on any basis, but it must be clearly stated what the segmentation is, so that the marketing department clearly understand who they're targeting and the characteristics of the people that they're targeting. So we have an idea of what segmentation is. It's grouping based on characteristics and based on preferences. Segmentation is only effective if customer groups identified are seen as profitable. The whole idea of this is to engage in this activity of looking at the customers in terms of segments, if it's profitable to do so. So it must be profitable to single out a particular group for particular attention. Otherwise, there's no point in doing it. So segmentation is only effective if the customer group is identified as being profitable. Now the basis for segmentation, well, markets can be segmented on the following consumer characteristics. It could be on where they live, which part of the country, seaside, city, town, farm, where are they exactly? The demographics, their age profiles, their gender, their demographics may be important. The psychographics, what sort of people are they? We'll talk about these in much more detail just coming up in a few moments, but psychographic, what sort of people are they? What are their aspirations, their requirements? What's their culture and history and background? Their behavioural, what sort of people are they? How do they respond to change? And again, overlaps with issues on the psychographic and on the cultural, but what issues are there in terms of their behavioural characteristics? So let's talk about these 4 in a little more detail. Start with the geographic. It divides the market, quite obviously, into geographic areas. Different regions may display different characteristics, different preferences and different behaviours. It's the case that sometimes that countries will have different characteristics just by a different region, and it's important that the marketers understand this and apply it to their thinking in the formulation of a business plan or a marketing. For example, McDonald's in India make lamb burgers rather than beef due to religious practices. So companies must refine their activity according to the characteristics of the customers, according to the requirements of the customers. It's pointless for a company to make a product and not take the customers into account, because the product will not be sold and the company will lose and go out of business. So it's important to identify the requirements of the customers, and generally speaking this can come in terms of segments. There are differences between people in different areas. Now I know it overlaps with culture, and I know it overlaps with the psychometrics and the demographics and so on, but there are differences and they need to be taken into account. This idea of looking at characteristics is particularly useful for multinationals and global businesses and brands. It's very important that they understand completely what's involved in marketing overseas or marketing in different regions or areas. Types of geographical variables used in segmentation. Well, the region, the country, the state, the town. So there are different ways in which we can look at the geographic issue in marketing. Sometimes regions may have very strong characteristics and very strong loyalties within the region and will have particular requirements, and that region may differ from a different region in the same country. Look at the size of the population. It's important to understand what the potential market is. It's important to understand what the likely market is going to be, not just the potential, which may be a total view of the possible market, but the actual potential. What's likely to come in? What's likely to result in sales in the next year or the next 3 years? Look at the size of the population and try to get some estimate of how many consumers fit into particular segments, how many customers are of a certain age or have a certain profile. Because then there's a greater understanding of the area in which the business is operating. Look at the population density. See if it's urban or rural or semi-rural. Sometimes countries are very much clustered into cities. Sometimes they may be very rural, small cities with many towns throughout the area. They're rural populations. Look at the climate, because that may also influence sales and the attitude of the people. If it's a very cold climate, then products would have to be suitable to match climatic conditions. If the climate is very warm, a different set of products may be required. So climate is certainly an issue. Now the demographics. Well, based on population characteristics, that's how we work out demographics. That's what demographics are, the characteristics of the population. And demographics can be divided into variables such as age. What's the age profile of the population? If the age profile of the population is getting older, then they will require different products to, say, younger people. If the age profile is very young, there are a lot of children around, again, a different profile, a different set of requirements, different opportunities for businesses who make, let's say, children's products if it's a young age than if it's an older age. Look at the gender. How many people are men, how many are women, and how many males, how many females, how are they distributed in the population? In other words, is it the case that they're fairly evenly balanced? Generally speaking, with population studies, females live longer and also tend to have a healthier lifestyle, generally speaking. So there may be opportunities in taking that into account for marketing purposes. So marketers must bear it in mind. Look at the family size. What's the average family size? Some countries, people like to have big families. In other countries, very small families. So there's a process in the West, for example, where the trend is towards very small families. But in developing world, they tend to have larger families. Income and occupation. How much income do families get? What's the income per capita? What's the average income per head? What's the spending power of these people? And what did they work at? What did they do for a living? What's the major occupations? What businesses flourish within this area, and what are the different business sectors? Where's employment in the area? Look at the education standard of the population. How many go to university? How many go to college? How many have basic education? Look at the nationality and ethnicity of the area to help determine the culture, the predominant culture of the area, and see what products match the requirements of each of the sectors. Religion might be important. Some people might have particular requirements because of their religion, particular products, cookery products or dress code or whatever. So they may have a particular demand for particular products. And the social class and the social structure of the society. How many people are middle class, how many people are upper class, and how many people are working class. Try to get some statistics on this, because again it paints a picture of the type of society. Also, I'm trying to say here with these different variables is that demographics can be worked out in these areas, and these could also form the basis for segmentation. It may not be based on one single one. It may be looking at females over the age of 30. Females over the age of 30 with a particular education. Females over the age of 30 with a particular education who are middle class, and so on. So we're looking at different ways of profiling the particular types of customer that the business is interested in, that would be suitable for the products that the business makes. Okay, age. Customer needs and wants change as they get older. They may need different styles of clothing. They may need more health care. They may need types of transport that are suitable for their age, which are easily accessible. They may need modifications to their houses that enable them to move around freely and easily within the house, whereas because they are not as flexible as they were when they were young. And marketers need to consider packages, promotion, pricing of products to accommodate different age groups. So younger populations have different needs to older populations. Well, the packages need to reflect this. The types of product need to reflect it. The way they're promoted needs to reflect it. The pricing of the products, and so on. It needs to match the requirements of the segment that's been identified. Examples include customers who are over the age of 50 who purchase cruise holidays, for example, in the West, have different music preferences between 18 to 25 to 50 plus. So there are different music preferences. They will buy different types of music. They will listen to different types of music. They may have different types of holidays. They may drive different types of cars. They will have their houses modified. They will have different interests as they get older. And marketers can focus in on those and target those particular attributes within that segment. Gender. One of the population variables, because it corresponds to different buying behaviours and it's easy to measure. Organisations develop products aimed at males and females, such as clothing, magazines, cosmetics. So there are different products which are aimed specifically at those at that divide. Some are male, some are female. Generally speaking, female magazines are not of much interest to the males. There again, the male magazines are not very much interest to the females, and so on. So there are segments, and again the marketers can draw on that. Family life cycle. Individuals pass through a range of family roles during their lifetime. At one stage they're unmarried, then they get married and have perhaps 2 children, or whatever is the norm, or whatever is acceptable, so on. So they have perhaps 2 children. I think in the West we often joke about 2.4 children being the average. But they have a number of children. And as the children get older, the adults have different requirements because the children are getting older. Their house may be modified, and they'll have different types of furniture and different types of products in the house which reflect the presence of children. As the children get older and older, eventually the children will go to college or university or go and get careers and leave the house, set up their own place, and then the adults who are remaining will revert back to what they wanted and their style, and so there's a process of readjustment within the family unit. And again, marketers will be interested in all of that to see how they can develop products that will match the various requirements at the different stages of the family life cycle. So it starts with the dependent child moving into young single adult, then a married adult with children, then a married adult with independent children, and finally a sole survivor. Eventually there'll only be one person left. The person's husband or wife will die, and their brothers and sisters will die, and so on, and there'll be one person left. So this whole family life cycle will be enacted. This is what people go through, and the marketing organization will be looking keenly to look for opportunities to develop products which will match requirements as that life cycle works its way through. The buying preferences will change, as well as affordability. As the life cycle moves through, preferences will change. Having children is expensive, and as the children go to school and college or even university, the expenses mount up. Then the children get careers and leave. So there's perhaps more disposable income within the remaining family unit. So there are differences all the time cropping up within that segment. Income. As income increases, individual expenditures tend to increase. There seems to be a positive relationship between incomes and expenditure. As incomes rise, we spend more. So it's important that the marketers understand what's happening to incomes, what's happening to the level of income within the area. Is it rising? Is it fixed? Is it falling? How prosperous is the area? How well are the commercial centres and the industries and the companies within the area doing? There are 3 common ways to measure income. Looking at total income before tax. That's what people earn, but then they have to pay a tax, because tax is taken by the government to redistribute to other people who are less well off, or it needs tax to have a military presence to save the country in case it's attacked, or to build roads, or build up the infrastructure of the country. So tax for various purposes, and when we work, we receive a gross income. That's a gross income before taxes, and then subsequently we have to pay a tax. So our disposable income is what we actually get to spend, and out of our disposable income we have obligations within family units, and to pay for children, as I just said earlier, and to pay for houses and transport, and have holidays and buy clothing and so on. This is our disposable income. So how much disposable income do the people within a given demographic catchment have? And the marketing section will be interested in that, because that's what they're fighting for. That's what they're looking into. They're looking into the products that customers want, that customers have a need for these products, and they also have the disposable income to purchase them. There's also what we call discretionary income. This is income that we may have from different sources, from inheritance, or we just might be lucky and win the lottery. So there are different sources of discretionary income. Occupation. UK government statistics has categorised the population into 6 classes. We have, first of all, A, the professional, B, middle management, C1, as it's called, junior management, C2, skilled manual workers. These are manual workers, work with their hands, but they've got a high degree of skill. D, semi-skilled and unskilled workers. And E, those who are dependent on the state, who are dependent on welfare payments. So we have different classifications here. We've got a 6-fold classification under UK statistics of the type of people that are possible within occupations. Now the social class. Well, customers in different social classes influence their buying behaviour. Social classes determine preferences for cars, clothing, food, leisure, products and services. It's strongly related to income, the income-based segmentation. But social class will determine the type of products that people buy. It'll determine their hobbies and their interests. It'll determine their friends and family networks and perhaps the area in which they live. It'll influence the type of car they've got and the type of dress they've got and the way they present themselves. And it'll also perhaps be reflected in their level of education. So there are different types of social class that that also may be taken into account for segmentation purposes. The psychographic, well, looks into personality factors that distinguish individual behavior and characteristics. So this is looking at personality types and different factors that can influence people particularly in decision making. But psychometric segmentation observes lifestyle changes which include the following variables. Activities, because activities change as we move through life. At one stage we may be keen sports people, but later on we gradually become less involved, and eventually we become spectators and supporters. So at one stage you may play a football, the next stage you are on the sideline watching the match. So you don't have a demand for football boots anymore. When you played football, you needed a football and football boots. Now you don't need those. You're a spectator. So activities change as the lifespan changes. And our interests change. What we were interested in at one stage will evaporate almost. It'll leave us and we'll get new interests. At one stage we may have been interested in particular types of music, and perhaps that interest will wane and we'll start to develop new interests. We may have been interested in going to see concerts, and now we're more interested in staying at home and watching the television. So different interests as people go through the life changes, the lifestyle changes, there are different interests, different activities that crop up, and our opinions change. It's been noted by many sociologists that sometimes people are very left-wing when they're young and very radical and very revolutionary, but when they get older they become much more conservative. Their opinions change. Sometimes it's observed that older people tend to become more religious because they're afraid of death. So again, changes in opinions. It could be just people's opinions change about styles. They were once interested in particular styles of living, typical styles which reflected their lifestyle, their social status, their income, and so on, and they had a house which was furnished according to a certain style. But their opinions changed as they get older, and perhaps as they retire from work, they want a different style. Their opinions have been modified. Their attitudes change. Once upon a time, perhaps they were aggressive towards some particular situation. They didn't like it, but now they're as they get older, they're more relaxed about life. It could be, or it could be the other way around. Perhaps as they get older, they become more picky and more upset about things. But their attitudes tend to change. They're not a fixed set, and these change over the life cycle. What they value also tends to change. Perhaps in early life they were very materialistic, and they wanted leading fashion, and they wanted the best car, and they wanted to project their image and who they were. As they get older, they are more complacent and easy about the type of car they drive and the style of their clothes and the way they present themselves. It could be the case that their values, what they think was important at one stage in their life, becomes less important as they get older and as they change. So the psychographic segmentation observes lifestyle changes, and the lifestyle changes can be analysed and looked at under various headings. And here we've got 5 headings which will help us to look at this type of segmentation. Let's look at lifestyle for a second again. Lifestyle plays an important factor in shaping our development and personality. Factors such as daily activities, interests, opinions, and beliefs contribute to our lifestyle. That's what makes up our life. Our activities, our interests, our opinions, our beliefs, our social contact, and our communications with others. And normally we select the people we mix with according to their activities, interests, opinions, beliefs, and so on, and values. Because if they're close to us, then they become good friends. But if they're at variance with us, then they're unlikely to become our friends. But it helps marketers to predict customer behavior and preferences. That's the point. Marketers can look at different segments and try to work out which phase of the life cycle people are in, and what are their likely demands, and what are their interests in terms of consumption, what are the products they're more likely to be interested in. Marketers can develop products and services at similar style groups, and it can market these at them in a sense, or deliver it, make it available to them, and look at their target market. So in other words, marketers can identify more closely who they're aiming at by looking at these various categories and trying to identify from the various categories which segment they're interested in, which segment most readily fits the type of product that the company is producing, what are the characteristics of the segment, and then trying to market to that segment, identifying the needs and requirements of the segment and trying to offer a product that fits. Behavioral segmentation based around customer behavior and attitudes towards products and services. Now, behavioral variables could include the benefits that are sought. It's looking at our attitudes and our behavior towards products and services. So we're looking for benefit. The consumer is looking for a benefit. So the company, in producing the product and in marketing the product, must make it clear to the consumer that there are benefits from purchasing the product and having the product. It meets customer needs. And the onus is on the marketing department to demonstrate to the customer how the product will meet their needs. The customer degree of usage. I mean, it's important that people buy the product that they're going to use. So it's important, therefore, that the marketing department identify usage. If it's something that particular customers will use a lot of, or use frequently, there's more opportunity in that market. So it's important that the marketing section identify usage as an important variable. But there is brand loyalty, and the business is trying to establish brand loyalty by offering a successful product that's good quality and that easily addresses the requirements of the customer. And in that way the customer will like the product, and they will build up an affinity towards the product. They build up an interest in the product, and brand loyalty will develop from there, so that the company will be able to perhaps launch related products and that can sell off the back of the successful product. In other words, will enjoy a benefit because the successful product is held in high esteem. What's the user status? The user status can be analysed in various ways. The status of the person in terms of income, social status, or it could be in terms of age, the status of the person in terms of their position in the community, the type of person they are, the average education level within that segment, where they live. So user status can be looked at from various perspectives, but it's important that an overall feel for any predominant characteristic is detected. It's important that the marketing department look for major characteristics within the user status, identify those, and then aim the product at them. But the customer must have a strong need to buy. They must have needs that will drive them to buy the product. So if they have got strong needs to buy, then it's easier for the marketing department. It is not all based on persuasion from the marketing department. The customers have a need to buy, and the marketing department is simply facilitating that need by providing information, providing a product that is aimed at the satisfaction of whatever need they've got. And look at occasions that trigger the buying process. Obviously Christmas could be one, birthdays, celebrations of various types. Or it could be just the fact that it's the weekend. That's the occasion. So people buy it on a regular basis. Depends on the nature of the product, but it's important to work out what is it that triggers the buying process. What determines the buying process? The customers certainly recognize the need for this product, and they buy it because it satisfies the need. Well, why did they buy it at that particular time? And what is it that triggers the precise purchase? Sometimes for older customers it may be that their pension has just arrived and they've got some money to spend. For younger people it may be that their colleagues are buying this product, so that it's becoming a trend in their circle. That might be the occasion. The occasion may be to keep up with their colleagues. But the occasion, as I said, could be just Christmas and the need to buy presents, or it could be holidays or birthdays or whatever. Occasion. Market segmentation based on occasion looks into certain trends and customer buying behavior. Types of occasions increase the need to buy certain products and services. So we must look at the types of occasions that we're dealing with. So for example, chocolate and flowers and Valentine's and Mother's Day. Now these may go together. Cereals are marketed to present the occasion of waking up, breakfast meal. So it's an occasion. We wake up, so we have cereal. But we need to identify the occasion. What is it that why does this time require that product? Or alternatively, you look at it the other way around. The producers of the product need to identify when the product will be bought and what is the occasion it will mark. The customer degree of usage. Well, customers are categorized into three groups: light, medium and heavy users. The aim is to attract heavy users, the ones who buy a lot of the product. If possible, that is the best course of action, because there is more sales to be had there. There is less risk in operating the market. However, it may be highly competitive, so there may be issues for the marketing department to deal with. Heavy users are customers that contribute to the organization's increase in sales. These customers continuously buy products and services from an organization. So the heavy users are quite reliable purchasers, and they buy a lot of it. But as I said, that means that the organization may experience competitive pressure. Other companies will want part of that market. Heavy users are good, but they will attract competition. Loyalty. Well, these are valuable customers to marketers as they contribute to sales. So loyalty, these are customers who come back over and over. They're loyal to the product. They like the product. They're going to return and buy it. They like the experience of the product. They feel comfortable with the product and they're prepared to pay for it. So they tend to buy from the same company. Organizations look into segments where there is a high deal of customer loyalty, rather than customers switching between brands to obtain quality, benefits or lower price. They want customers who will buy a product, like it and stay with it. That's what we mean by loyalty. The benefits sought. Well, marketers need to understand the benefits a customer will receive from a particular product or service. Marketers need to understand what the customer will receive when they buy the product. So they need to identify the needs of the customer and make sure the product meets the needs of the customer. Can a product or service enhance a customer's lifestyle? For example, if a customer bought the product, would it make them feel better? Would it make them look better? Would it help them in their chosen lifestyle? And would that be enough to encourage them to buy the product? So it's very complex, because we have to take into account the price of the product, the image of the product, the durability of the product, the attributes, the design, the innovation. We have to take many aspects into account. But the customers are looking for benefits from the product. They're looking for how will this product improve their life in whatever way. And it should be clear to them that this product is desirable because, and the because is the answer to the question. It's clear they want this product because it will enhance their lifestyle, it will improve their image, or whatever they have decided is important. The toothpaste market is an example of the different market it satisfies. So it's economic, medical, cosmetic and taste. So when we buy toothpaste, we look at the price of the toothpaste. But it's medicinal as well. It's good for us. It's good for our gums and it's good for our teeth, and so we buy toothpaste. It's cosmetic. It makes us look good as well. We have nice teeth, so it's nice when people smile. And the taste. The taste can be on two levels. One, how acceptable is it when we brush our teeth? Is it a nice taste? But the other interpretation of taste is this toothpaste could be the fashionable toothpaste, the one that everyone is using. So we want to be a part of that set. The importance of segmentation. Well, once segments have been identified, the focus is then to aim appropriate promotional effort at the target group. So it's important to identify the segment. Who is the company aiming at? Who precisely is it aiming at? The promotional methods must be relevant to ensure that marketing efforts are effectively communicated to the end customer. And it usually involves selling and advertising. But the promotional method must be relevant. It must catch the eye of the prospective customer. It must attract them. It must make them think that product meets my requirements and I want to purchase the product. I want that product. That's what I've been looking for. That's what they must feel. So the promotional method should be relevant and ensure that the marketing effort is communicated properly. Sales promotions can be for customers, for trade, depending on the segment and the product. So sales promotions could be aimed for customers or for trade. Companies sometimes they sell directly to the public, or they could sell to other companies, depending on the nature of the product. So when we're looking at segmentation, we must also include the possibility that the company is selling to companies. Well, if it's selling to companies, then we could go through a different type of calculation, segmentation calculation, segmentation classification. So it depends on the nature of the product. So I hope that this session, which has been quite long as I said at the start, and I hope you've stopped a few times before you got this far, but it does look at important issues in segmentation. I think it's important that you also make notes from here, and in addition to that, go and make notes from some of the PDFs on this topic. But that concludes this class, so I'm going to leave it at that and say thank you for watching.